One of the most commonly used elements is actually the div element. The div element stands for division, which basically means that you organize your different pieces of your HTML inside its own container. So division or div is simply a container. It's a generic container element. It has no special properties but one. All right, we're going to look at that in a minute, actually, just right now. So we are in our web page and we're gonna, let's say I'm making a web page for myself and I want to organize this web page in different sections. So let's say I have a section for my background. I have a section for, let's say, my professional life, and one section for my personal life. And inside, underneath each of these sections, I may have multiple paragraphs and some text about each of these sections. So I'm going to add these under each. And you see, I save and I refresh and I see this background over here, this personal and professional and personal life over here. Now, if you look at the code is not easy to read. It's not organized. To do that and to make that each of these sections inside its own section or division, we're going to actually put these sections inside its own div element. So here's how you do that. So we want to put this particular section, the background and the paragraphs for the background, in a division element. So I'm going to say div, and I'm just simply going to copy this and paste it inside like such. So now the two benefits are that it's easier to read because I know this is one section, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. So start div, end div, and do the same thing over here. Start div, indent this, and end div. So this is one section, this is another section, and this is another section. Now the significance of organizing this in a section is not for readability. It's actually when we get to the CSS section of our website or of this course, we're going to see that when we have these sections, we can actually use the CSS techniques to actually have advanced layouts. So I'm going to save this and I go over here, refresh. It's going to have no difference because div is a generic element. I've already told you it's just a generic container. So now, just to show you what's happening in the background is, let's say if I right click and inspect, what happens is when I'm right clicking on, let's say, the background element, it's actually going to open the developer tools and highlight this particular element. Inspect. And you see the background element is highlighted, and you see all of its different spacing has been highlighted as well when I click over here, or sorry, hover over here. Now, just to make this bigger, you see the div element, I can minimize this, and we have three divs, right? The background, professional, and personal. So if I click over here and I scroll down, you see that this entire blue area is highlighted because this div element has all of these three things inside. Now, one more thing is that the div element, the special property of a div element is that it takes up all the horizontal real estate that it can find. So it takes up all of this space. It does not let the second div element, this professional div element, to be on this right hand side. It's actually blocking the entire right hand side. So that's why it's actually containing all of its information and taking up all the horizontal real estate. So that is the property of a div element, not just organizing things in a container, but also taking up all the horizontal real estate. Now this will become, again, very powerful and helpful when we get to the CSS section where we can do advanced layouts. All right, so until then, wait along and just think of the div element as just a generic container. Now, a close brother to the div element is actually the span element. The span element is also used as a generic container, but the difference is that where the div element takes up all the horizontal real estate, the span element only takes up the space that it needs. So the span element is typically used, let's say, within a paragraph. So let's say I have a big paragraph over here in the background section. I'm going to keep on writing some stuff over here. And let's say there's some special text over here, special text, all right? And we want to give it some special attention, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap this particular special text inside the span element like such. Save, refresh, and you see all of this text is here, but this special text is like within the same line. It's actually not taking up all the horizontal space. So just to prove the point, there can be more text over here. I can just put it in, save, refresh, and you see the rest of the text is over here. And the special text just does not expand its limits. It only takes up the space it needs. And just to prove that point, I can right click and inspect, and you see the span element gets highlighted in our Chrome developer tools. And you see when I highlight this particular entire section gets highlighted just to show that this element is taking up this much space. Now, the significance of the span element will also become very evident to you when we get to the CSS section. All right. Until then, you just know that div and span elements are generic containers. Div takes up all the horizontal real estate that it has, and span only takes up the inline within the line space that it needs. Until then, talk to you in the next video.